Every year, students in Michelle Foreman's ethnographic filmmaking course scatter across the city in search of untold stories from Birmingham's communities. In 2008, for the first time ever, all of the filmmakers in Foreman's class got their chance to shine on the big screen. All 8 student films were screened as part of Birmingham's prestigious Sidewalk Moving Picture Festival.
The ethnographic filmmaking course is a documentary class that looks at community as the unit of social analysis. The students are using film as a tool to be able to understand the social realities that we live in Birmingham.
Students are encouraged to go out into the city and find a community or social issue to explore. Past films have focused on ghost hunters, graffiti artists, teenage mothers, and a dying coal mining village on the outskirts of Birmingham.
My favorite day in class is when we brainstorm ideas. I grew up in Birmingham, and so I always feel like I know the city, but the students always come in with really surprising and new ideas that sort of reintroduce the place that I thought I knew.
In Saved, the story of the watercress darter, Lynn Tran and Ingrid Pfau tell the story of an endangered fish and a local church's mission to rescue it.
There was an article in the newspaper talking about Faith Apostolic Church working to help save the watercress darter. And so we thought that was really interesting because you would think a lot more churches would get involved into cleaning up the earth since the earth is God's creation, but we didn't see much of that, so we thought it was interesting.
Gerald Appling partnered with David Balla on Making the Most at Hoover, a film about a student-run mentorship program at Hoover High School in the Birmingham suburbs.
Our playground was pretty much cement, concrete, none of that fancy stuff. And then I got here and we've got like state-of-the-art lunchrooms, awesome computer facilities, TVs in every room, and it was a really big difference.
From my perspective, making the most at Hoover, the girls of FMAC, Female Minority Achievement Council, most of them had moved to Hoover from inner city schools like Birmingham. One girl came from Washington, D.C., and basically we focused on why their parents decided to move to Hoover, and most of the time it was for educational opportunities for their children.
In Food to Fuel, Rachel Thompson and Jim Warnock visited Birmingham's Jones Valley Urban Farm and several sites in Hoover to explore programs that convert used cooking oil into a power source.
We'll use the tractor to help us grow more of the food that we're going to sell to Rojo. We'll harvest that food, put it into our truck, use the biodiesel in the truck to drive to Rojo, drop off the produce. They'll use that produce in the restaurant and then create lots of cooking oil, and we'll come and pick that up when it's ready and take it back to the farm. So we just have this continuous loop of growing, selling, recycling.
We tried to start out originally just talking about the Hoover program, and we got through in Jones Valley when we figured out they were going to start to do that. And so it kind of just broadened because once we learned more about biodiesel and how it was part of the bigger biofuel programs, which includes ethanol, that we couldn't really talk about these programs without trying to somehow address the larger issues in 9 minutes, which was really our hardest struggle.
Students are supposed to keep their films under 5 minutes, but few think that's long enough. Foreman and fellow instructor Rosie O'Byrne know to expect some arguments.
The 5-minute time limit is probably the rule in the class that gets them most worked up. I mean, students will come up and say to both me and Rosie, well, I mean, these other film ideas, I mean, those are 5-minute ideas, but you don't understand. My idea, I mean, I really need a full half hour. I need an hour to tell this story because it's so great. And so I love to see them fighting. I mean, I teach traditional classes here too. I never have students who saying, you know, the 5-page paper is really not adequate for me to express my ideas. I really need 10 pages, 15. So I love that they're fighting to be able to put more of their research into the finished product.
Getting the video, getting the shots, doing the interviews, that was the easy part.
Yeah, then from our point of view, we fall in love with all the good shots, and sometimes you have to cut things, and it's hard making decisions on where to put things, and that was the most stressful part.
Editing is kind of like writing, where you pop open a vein and just bleed.
One of the critics said it was the best footage of all the movies, but the worst movie, because at that point we had apparently fallen in love with all of our clips. So we were making more of an artistically
pretty movie,
aesthetically pleasing movie.
It made sense to me because
I
mean we were living the experience, and
it's because we had assigned so much meaning to our images,
symbolism,
that other people didn't realize because they weren't put into the position of being in the community. They didn't realize how we saw or how the community saw an object.
They're like, this reads like an encyclopedia. You need to cut some of this out and have maybe 1 second of breathing room between all of these. Like, we need to get as many facts in as possible. The world needs to know this.
The world got its chance last September at the Sidewalk Moving Picture Festival.
One of the goals of the ethnographic filmmaking course is not only to give students this experience of making films and going into communities to do this kind of in-depth research, but to be able to present their work back to the community.